Hello and welcome to Case of the Day. Today's case follows on from our discussion on Nathan. This one is Michael, and he saw me a very long time ago, probably 10 years apart. At the outset, he had one of the worst misalignments I've ever seen. His head was not on straight. I will show you his x-ray alignment. There was a tilt in that atlas that was phenomenally out of control, angled at a horrible angle there in these x-rays taken and subsequent x-rays that I took to try and get some resolve. It turned out that Michael never improved. He continued to have debilitating, almost life-threatening feelings of detachment and dysfunction in his daily life. And it was a wonder, to me that he'd fathered 2 children. He was a completely gentle soul. His current partner is an amazing support for him, and he has a new baby, but just struggled through this. He first came to see me in 2015 in my clinic in Crow's Nest in the city of Sydney, and he had a history of being hit in the back of the head. 1996, he was leaving a club and defended a woman in a fight on Christmas Eve. He may have been hit in the head a few times. It was a king hit, coward hit, and woke on the ground with bleeding lip. Police advised to press charges, but he did not. Then, on the way to a generous lift to the hospital, he was in a car accident. Concussion symptoms ensued on the next day and never got better. Just brief periods of feeling okay, he said. Dizzy and lightheaded. He can't exercise. His fatigue is deathly. He has developed suicidal tendencies because life is just so horrible. Sought me out and I took these x-rays, and he seemed to improve but never got better. Initial x-rays in 2015 showed horrendous rotation, even with our basic analysis. Many years later, let's see, from 2023, so that was the gap. Many years between, and he came back because we treated him right. He had faith in what I do, and he knew I was an expert at the atlas work. So the atlas orthogonal Australia work, which I learned from Dr. Roy Sweat and Matthew Sweat in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. We tried, and his pre and post x-rays didn't change, and I referred him to these professors. And Studley, I don't think, gave him a lot of confidence, but Professor Rao wrote the following report, which finally acknowledged that Michael was unable to function in his current state and needed assistance and help. He had a rotatory subluxation between C1 and 2, the right C1 lateral mass positioned closer to the odontoid peg, becoming more prominent with left rotation. So he had instability, he had ligament damage that was evident. Right transverse sinus more dominant than left, through left remains patent. Right internal jugular vein, grade 2 compression, progression to grade 4 with left rotation. So he's compressing the arteries and veins to his brain when he turns his head. Left internal jugular vein, grade 3 compression in neutral position, progressing to grade 4 with right rotation. Right internal jugular vein positioned posterolaterally at C1 rather than anterolaterally. Discussion. I have discussed the imaging findings with their potential clinical significance. He potentially has stylojugular venous syndrome, atlantoaxial subluxation. You can see the asymmetry of the odontoid peg being some sort of sinister indication. Here is the rotational abnormality. This one shows that the atlas is rotational and sitting in a position that is asymmetrical and in a rotational, like a torsional strangulation position, if you like. But the clues were always there in the cross sections of the MRIs I took out. I thought, this is not normal. And there you have the asymmetry of the horizontal view, which we take, but this is an MRI horizontal view. And those points should be equidistant. So that's the rotatory subluxation. As chiropractors, upper cervical specialists, we pick this up greatly early in the picture, and then the specialist responds to it and reports on it like it's something only he knew. But a lot of chiropractors know about these things, or should do. In these studies with Michael, you can see there is horrendously gross stepping and failure of the posterior longitudinal ligament. Incredibly so. There is a break there in extension, but in flexion you've got this dramatic insufficiency of stabilization. Here's another case of a person left to his own devices and suffering a great deal because the great imaging that we have and the great brains that we have, we're not called in to help these people. But it's part of my job to recognise, one, when a person's not recovering, two, when symptoms are potentially sinister, and three, I try and identify and relate to what's going on with these humans, in that you can't just have this self-protective cut-off and care. As long as the patient is respectful and willing to look beyond the square, go above and beyond in your recommendations and follow up, then you can provide an undying continuity of care and follow up and see that these people get the care they need in addition to chiropractic care. So both of these cases I've put up are relieved and that they found solutions, but in each case it's almost taken them half of their life to find out what's going on. Thanks for listening to Case of the Day, and have a good one.